just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Bloke in a Bar beer, what keeps the lights on. Allegedly, it fuels the machine that you are witnessing. The Bloke in a Bar machine is fueled by Bloke beer. We tip it into the fuel machine over there, and then it just gets all this content that gets spat out. It is by Bloke in a Bar. So grab a case of Bloke in a Bar, supports the platform. But now on to the important stuff. I am here with the great man, Nicho Hynes. Hey, do I say it wrong every time? Is it Nicho or Nicho?
Nicho, but some of the poly boys say Nicho.
Nicho. I think I've been saying Nicho. I'm not a poly boy. Matty thinks he's a poly boy.
Yeah, right.
He reckons he's a poly boy. Matty's literally whiter than a ghost. So no, he's not.
That whiteboard over
Yes,
there.
exactly. Mate, how are you enjoying the off season?
Yeah, it's been good. Got to spend some quality time with my baby nieces and dad, mum, family, and that brother. So haven't spent much time with them over the COVID.
Oh man,
inflicted year of footy. So it's good to come home, see mates and family, and just cruise for a bit.
And so you're in Sydney currently, but you've still got to go back home to get your stuff and then come move to Sydney?
Yeah, so I get the keys for the new house on Monday in Cronulla. I've been living...
They reckon it's a mansion on the water. That's what they reckon.
It is across the road from the beach, but it's not a mansion.
I don't know. If you're the Storm boys are saying money bags, I reckon.
No. They all took it. That's why I couldn't stay there. But yeah, so I moved there next week. A lot of my stuff from Melbourne's on the Central Coast, with my dad's house, and just slowly start moving it down.
Is it... What's the feeling like? Because obviously you've basically been at Storm since... Obviously you're at Manly in the under-20s, but professionally, Storm is basically your only home?
Yeah.
What's that feeling like? New club, you're going in as an NRL player. What's it like?
It was a bit of sweet at the start, and saying goodbye towards the end of the year. We didn't really get to finish how we thought we would have, and obviously we'd done a team trip in the Goldie, and everyone kind of just went off because there was a bit of a COVID scare on the Gold Coast, so all the boys quickly ran back to where they were from, and didn't really get to say goodbye properly. And then all that coaching staff went back to Melbourne because some of their families didn't come up. So after our drinks on Sunday there was a flight home straight to Melbourne, and they all got on the flight home. I didn't really get to say goodbye to some of the coaching staff either. So it was tough doing that, not being able to get a proper send-off. I got back to the Central Coast, and I was very emotional, to be honest. I was just reflecting on the year and the last 3 years, and all the mates I've made, and the brotherhood we kind of made there. And I got very emotional, and but it was good. I spent time to reflect on it, and now I've kind of done that. I'm ready to move forward and excited for the new journey. I'm
telling you, nothing hits you harder than silence. And what I mean by that is, like, when you go home to Central Coast, obviously.
Yep.
I'm from, it's an ongoing joke internally, but I'm from the country, Mudgeerbar on the Gold Coast. But I live on acreage.
Yep.
And when you're out there, the quiet is just fully quiet. And you get in this kind of reflective mood, as you said. Whereas sometimes if you live in the city and you just go, you don't have a chance to take a step back and really think about what has happened and digest it.
Yeah, exactly.
And is that what it was like on the Central Coast? Was that just kind of...
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
And a lot of my mates obviously work, so I had a lot of days to myself and to think about it. But I think it's important you do that, because if you're on the go constantly, and I think reflection's really an important part of who you are and moving forward. So it was good. And I made fucking unbelievable friendships, and Craig Bellamy, Frank Panisi, they made me who I am and the footy player I wanted to become. So I'm always going to stay connected with those guys. And I get to go back to the presentation night in a few weeks to have a proper goodbye. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, and I'm grateful that the Sharks are going to let me do that too. So it's exciting for that.
Mate, exciting times. So, okay, well, we'll just go to the switch. Walk us through, Storm, I guess, known for, if they want to keep you, they keep you. But obviously, sometimes every few years they lose a player they really want to keep because they've got such a good system and such a good roster.
Yeah.
Walk us through the whole process. When did it become apparent to you that you may have to move on from the Storm?
Yeah, I think, last year, when we won the grand final that year, and I played a few games at fullback when Paps was out, and I think I started to find my feet a little bit, and I thought I was ready, but I had conversations with my manager and a few people that are close to me that know a bit about footy, and they said, just go one more year, learn a little bit more, and then next year you'll get more experience, and then once you feel like you're ready, you've got to be more ready. And then I had another good preseason, and then obviously when Paps got injured and then got the head knock, and I spent a lot of time at fullback, and then I started to really find my feet, and then You know, I really, really enjoyed being a main part of a team.
Absolutely.
You know, doing a game plan. You know, and the boys looked at me to lead the team and to be a main member, and I was like, all right, this is what I want for the rest of my career. And there's going to be a time where Paps is going to come back, and you know, he won the Clive Churchill last year, so he's the number one of this club. You know, I felt like I was playing really good footy, but still, he was still the number one at the time. And I thought, you know, I think for me to progress my career and for me to be an NRL player that I want to be, and you know, and try and make rep teams and stand out, then I'm going to have to leave. And you know, the realization of that was pretty heartbreaking because you know, that's my family, that's my club that I started my career at. And but yeah, I got some advice, and even the players at the club, you know, they said, if you want to continue how you're playing this year and be a main member of the team, you're probably going to have to go. And you know, I've got my teammates saying that. I got their respect, and you know, I didn't want them to think I was going because I wasn't loyal. I was just going because I want to be a solid NRL player. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And it had to happen, and it has now. So,
do you remember the kind of like, not you don't have to remember specifically the day, but when you said it out loud and it became a reality of like, rang your manager and was like, look, let's get on the market.
Yeah, I think when Paps got injured first, I think I played Sharks, Warriors, South, and a few games in a row at fullback. And I started getting a bit of media speculation for the first time, you know, and you know, you, at first when you're getting all that attention, you start noticing it. Yeah. And then you start thinking, all right, maybe I can test the market. And then Magic Round was probably one of the biggest games for me for speculation of what I'm doing in my career, because after that game, a lot of media come out about what I was going to do. And then, you know, I spoke to my manager, said, right, I think it's time we actually have a good crack of seeing what we can do. And then I spoke to my dad and my brother a lot. They're the guys I talk to mostly about what I want to do. And, you know, and I respect their opinion. And yeah, they said, you know, I think it's time that you have a proper look. And, you know, when we did, and, you know, I was very blown away about what I was receiving and the attention I was getting, because that's something I've never received before. You know, I've always been talking to reserve grade clubs. And yeah, it was pretty mind blowing to think that, you know, me, like Nicho Hynes, who was a reserve grader now, is getting all this attention from NRL clubs. Like, it was pretty cool. And, you know, I was very grateful that happened. And it was just unfortunate that Paps had to get injured for me to do it. But, you know, sometimes in life, the only way you can get seen is if there's opportunity. And I had to take my opportunity, and I did. And yeah, and it was cool, but obviously, like I said, it was pretty sad that it had to be me leave Melbourne. Yeah, it is what it is, and it's happened.
Mate, it's a lot of fans may not realise is that when you're on the fringes of first grade, you know, it's more managers going out looking, and you might get like one or two NRL clubs like, we'll pay him minimum, top 30, you know, he can come and have a crack. And so you're totally right. It's very bizarre to go from... It's just a strange feeling to go from desperate just to get a contract to fuck, there's actually, you know, solid interest, and I can get a substantial longer term deal. So who was interested, and like how did that process happen? Yeah,
at first, obviously the Bronx are pretty, you know, well known in Queensland, like with the media talking about what I was going to do with them. Yep. I didn't like know the Sharks were ever going to be an option, and you know, one day my manager rings me up and says, you know, Craig Fitzgibbons wants to have a chat with you. Yep. Obviously, he's going to be the head coach of the Sharks, and I just never thought the Sharks, you know, was going to be an option. And you know, I rang him one afternoon after training and had a really, really good conversation with him. And
were you nervous before the phone call?
I was so nervous. I didn't know what he wanted to talk about. Obviously, it was about footy, but you know, whether it was like a genuine interest or it was just like, I'll have a chat to Nicho, like whether it was my manager pushing for the conversation or whether it was him pushing for the conversation. So I just went into it pretty nervous, didn't know what was going to happen, and just wanted to have a good chat with someone. And yeah, everything he said in that conversation, I got off the phone. I think I rang my dad straight away. I was like, fuck, he's the real deal. Yeah. You know, everything he said, his core values, what he wants to take to the club, the culture, just everything. I was like, fuck, this is a bit similar to, you know, what we have here. And then the Warriors come in, had a meeting with them as well. The Dragons, like they were umming and ahhing a bit, had a conversation with the Raiders. So there was a fair bit, and obviously Melbourne were always there. they were offering me a pretty good deal, like to probably not be a starting player, and I was very like thrown away, and I was very surprised, but very grateful for their offer.
Yeah.
I always wanted to make sure that I was honest and very truthful from the start with the Storm.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to tell them if I was going to go see someone. I just wanted to make sure that every conversation I had with another team, I was always making sure they were going to have an offer last.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to show them the respect. If they wanted to keep me, they had the right to have the last play at me.
Yeah.
And I was with Craig and Frank. I sat down with them a few times and was just upfront and honest with them. And they were awesome throughout the whole process. And they knew that I probably would have had to leave, but they really wanted to keep me as well. So I had all those clubs, and I just think that the Sharks are going to suit me the most. And, you know, Fitzy was, he's unbelievable. And getting to work with him in the Origin camp too was pretty cool. And I just think at the end of the day, it just come down to Fitzy, their young roster, and I just thought it was going to fit me.
Yeah. Did Fitzy like call you or like regularly? Was it his pursuit? Because like not ironic, but there's a lot of stories about Bellamy when he wants a player, he'll call them regularly, be like, "This is where I see you," and he'll just chat to them about anything. Yep. Was that similar to what Craig did?
Yeah, it was. After that first conversation, I got off the phone and I was like pretty excited about it, and then a couple of days later, he called me again, and he was excited about the conversation we had, and he just was like, "Man, I just want to keep chatting to you. Like, we had a good conversation. I'm pretty excited. I want to keep talking to you about gameplay and where I see you and where you see us if we're in contention." And I just really enjoyed talking to him about footy and what he wants to do. And and then a couple of days later, he's calling again and texting me like, he was just excited. And I remember like when I was coming out at 20s, like I didn't really have that. And the first reserve grade coach that called me to make me feel excited was Pup from North Queensland, and I felt that from Fitzy as well, and Fitzy was the first person to actually make me feel so wanted, and and I'm a kind of guy that like really likes to feel wanted, and and he done that, and so many phone calls, and then I come down after the Indigenous round and met up with the Sharks, and then drove up from Cronulla to Central Coast with him in the car, and you spoke footy the whole time. Yeah.
What's his music choice like?
I don't even think there was music. I think it was just no radio, and we were just chatting up for 2 hours.
Just yarning.
Yeah, just yarning.
Should have recorded it for a podcast, bro. That should have been your debut podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man. Opportunity missed.
Put it on record and put it in my pocket.
Opportunity missed, bro. So it seems like the connection with Craig Fitzgibbon is something that really got it across the line.
I knew when I told him that I was talking to Fitzy, they respected that, and they really respect Craig Fitzgibbon as a bloke. And if I've got Frank and Craig's blessing, who they're genuine people of rugby league and they know everything about rugby league, then I was happy with that decision.
Yep. And it's important that they care about you first before the team.
Yeah.
So if just as friends, if they're saying to you this is the right decision, it does make it that much easier to make that decision because you do respect them so much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So obviously you signed the deal, but this season for the Storm, what a strange season. You break all these records. You look unbeatable, unbeatable.
Yeah.
Then you get to that prelim, and it's like you play the worst game that you've played in a few years. Like, it was just bizarre.
It was
so bizarre and so unstorm-like. If you could sum up the year, how would you sum it up? Like, it's just a strange year.
It's hard because you break those records. We broke so many records in the year, but at the end of the day, if you don't go win the premiership, no one remembers it. Really,
100%.
We'll have that record with that great Roosters team for 19 in a row, but you don't really remember if you don't go off and win the grand final, 100%. Do you? So it's so bittersweet. But like for me, reflecting on it, like I really, really enjoyed the year, and I can put that down to let's so to speak breakout year, or the year that I really stamped myself as an NRL player. And I loved every minute of playing with those boys, and towards the back end, they were like some Jesse Bromwich and they were saying, just make the most of it, Ruz, because you're going to be gone next year. You're never going to get this again. And so that's what I tried to do. I just tried to make the most of every moment with that team. We're even talking about it like when we're having the drinks on that Sunday. Like, fuck, it could be the best team to never win the premiership. Like,
honestly could.
It was like such a great team, and it's going to be missed for sure.
Mate, it's just a strange year. Like that last game poisons everything.
I know. I don't know what happened. Like, we just dropped the ball. We're just doing very unstorm-like things, and I honestly can't put it down to what happened that game, because it just wasn't us.
It really wasn't. Like, your completion rate was down, and And
Didn't help that Cheese and Welchie got injured.
that killed you.
Yeah.
You know, Cheese and Welch are like arguably your two, like Welch in the middle is your guy.
He's
like he's
our guy,
your leader.
Yeah.
Obviously Bromwich is there too. But, you know, you even look at Queensland when they lost Christian Welch, they're a different side.
Yeah.
And obviously Cheese, probably your best player all season, outside himself. Like you and him are probably neck and neck for best player of the season. So to lose those two in the middle as well, very hard to recover from that. But Storm usually do recover from that.
I know.
You know?
It's just unbelievable.
Mate. Far out. So when it was happening throughout this whole season, what do you think you did differently, at all, if anything, that made this form just kind of appear?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think I seen the way Paps played last year, and I just knew if I got my opportunity, I can do it as well. Obviously, we're two different types of players. Like he's a very fast, speedy player. I can get through gaps pretty easy. Where I'm more of I like to set up plays more.
Yeah.
And you got the teammates to do it in that team. And I just thought, as soon as I get my opportunity, I need to grab it with both hands. So, you know, maybe I can set myself up with a new contract and I can show to everyone that I can play at this level.
Yeah.
And I just worked extremely hard on my craft and my game. You know, Billy Slater was humongous for me.
And he's like a GOAT fullback factory. He just like makes players into the best fullback in the game.
It's unbelievable.
It's fucking wild, bro.
It's so crazy. Like, you will walk off a field and he'll have clips there ready for you to know what you're doing good or what you can work on.
Yeah.
You know, he'll come into sessions and we'll do things, and you know, he'll work on our craft with us. And you know, I've got him to thank huge amounts for my performances this year, I reckon. And
what's something that what's his driving message, do you think, that kind of permeates through everything that he tries to teach you?
Just play to your strengths, really. And he just gives you confidence to play to your strengths. You know, he's not going to come and train me like he would train Paps, and he wouldn't train Paps like he would train me. You know, he would make sure that I'm setting up plays that suits me.
Yeah.
And he'll look at the team we're playing up against, and he'll probably see something that he knows that I can pick them apart with, and he'll show me, go out and do it. And you know, when I do it, it just feels so good because he's have the confidence in me to go out and play to my strengths. And me going out and doing that plays from him, like it's just pretty cool. They got Billy Slater giving me tips, and I go out and do it. And it's just like, fuck, that's.
Has there been any try that you can remember that you set up or whatever that Billy has gone, look, this player, he tends to do this, and you've nailed it on the field?
Yeah, there was.
Speak to me. I love this shit.
What game was it? It might have been the Roosters when we played at Newcastle. There was this play where. Because sometimes I like to get the ball and I'll have three runners outside myself, the back rower, centre and winger. So let's say Kenny Bromwich, Justin Olam and Josh Adokar.
Yeah, not bad.
So I like them just all hitting holes. So we'll go Kenny and Juzzy inside, outside, centre.
Yep.
And then Joshy out holding the paint. And because I like my long ball, but then I've also, because I want to get to the half and try and put Kenny inside the centre or Juzzy outside the centre. But if the winger comes in, I'm just throwing long every time. And I started running it a fair bit, and teams probably started to read it. And Satsy just goes, "Oh, why don't you keep running hard or fast and drop Kenny under show, and then just pin it for the centre and see if he turns in or out." And actually, I think it was a South game where we beat him at ANZ, and I did it. And Kenny come under, I think he held Benji up for a little bit.
Yep.
Dummied and just went straight through. And then Joshy backed me up and scored the try. And he was just like, "See, I told you." And it was that exact play he told me to do.
Yeah. and
it
that's
just worked,
What's crazy is it's like, because it's like countering a counter. Like, for example, they would have watched your video and gone, "Oh, he's tending to hit long or whatever." So they go to read it. And then, so Billy's like, "Okay, why don't you change it up?" So they go to defend what you usually do. And then obviously that gap just fucking opens. When it opened wide, were you just like, "Oh shit, let's go"?
I got through it and I was like, "Fuck you, Billy, you're always right."
Mate, that's crazy. That's wild. There's the amount of people that say Billy Slater is literally like a coach on the field, like at the back. He talks so much. Yeah, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Take us back to a young fella. Obviously from the Central Coast.
Yep, from the Central Coast.
Born in Gosford.
Yeah.
Apologies if I get this wrong, but Wiradjuri descent?
Wiradjuri.
Yeah,
Wiradjuri,
sorry, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that is your tribe?
Tribe, yeah.
Yep. And growing up, did you grow up because a sad thing that a lot of Indigenous people have to face is they're disconnected from their Indigenous heritage due to everything that's happened in the past. Obviously, Australia's trying to close that gap between the disconnection. But did you grow up connected to your Indigenous heritage or not really?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So my mum is the Indigenous side of us, and her dad is the Indigenous side of her. And I think he was a proper black fella, but he got taken away from her when she was real young.
Yep.
And so I've never met him. And I wouldn't even know, how black he is, or I don't even think I know his name.
Yep.
So yeah, she's always had those traumas with not being connected to him, and we never really stayed connected at all with our Aboriginal side. And it wasn't really only till my mum was in jail and she linked up with some of the Koori girls in there, and they spoke to her about it because they could probably obviously tell, and they're like, "Oh, you're black, eh?" And she's going, "Yeah, but don't really know much." And so they kind of got her connected with it, and that was only really when she got out of jail for the final time, when I just got into high school. And I met a Indigenous fella, Bruce, his name is, in high school, and he started yarning to me about it, and I started getting into it a bit. And yeah, so I didn't really start claiming I was Aboriginal, really, so to speak, until I was in high school. And then when I got out of high school and then went to Mackay anyway. So yeah, I kind of missed a lot of my younger years knowing I was Aboriginal kind of thing, and taking part in certain things and staying connected. And but once I started to realise who I was and start to be proud, I really started to enjoy it and started to get connected. And someone actually, Josh Adokar, at the Melbourne Storm, when I first got more connected with him, seeing how proud of an Aboriginal man he is just made me so much more prouder and wanted to represent. And yeah, just growing, when I first started finding out in high school, people were like, "Oh, whatever, Nicho, you're not fucking Aboriginal," and it kind of broke my heart a little bit. I used to hate hearing people say to me, "Nah, you're not Aboriginal."
Just because of the colour of your skin.
Yeah. And, "Oh, no, you didn't go through primary school, or in high school, you only found out late, so you don't know much, but whatever." Yeah,
you may as well be an Aussie.
Exactly. And I was just like, "No, fuck you," But then, we got our papers eventually, and I've started doing more things, and it's just a big fuck you to everyone who started to say I wasn't, but really I am, and deep down inside I know I am. So it's kind of stuff all the haters now. And I love representing who I am. It's unbelievable, and it's such a proud culture, and a lot of people, I reckon, forget how long living culture it is, and don't educate themselves. Bro. Yeah, educate themselves enough on it, and are quick to bag it. But we're trying to make a stance and trying to make it more known to everyone how proud we are of our culture.
Mate, it's sad. Even a guy, I had him on the podcast years ago, like Jarrell Yaya, you would look at him, you would know he's Indigenous. But even him, a similar situation. He wasn't connected to his growing up. He missed a lot of that learning about something that is so important to you as a person. And he, the way he described it was it filled a hole for him. It was all of a sudden a lot of things made sense to him. And it is so sad that people like yourself that are Indigenous, he's Indigenous, because of the trauma of the past, you're so disconnected from it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's going to take us a few generations to close that gap, So, because obviously now you're in a position where you can teach your children, this is our heritage.
Yeah.
It's so sad that happens. And also, you're totally right about the culture. We have the oldest culture in the world, as in Indigenous culture. Australia has the oldest culture in the world. I think that's something that we should be proud of that.
Yeah, for sure.
The oldest by even, I understand Indigenous history is different to Western's history in the sense of measuring, how far back each goes. But even by Westernist standards and measurement of time, the Indigenous culture is still the oldest in the world.
Exactly right.
It is absolutely should be celebrated. We should be going, how fucking good is this?
I agree for sure. And I'm someone who respects all cultures, the Māori culture, all the boys in Storm. We got a lot of Māori boys, and Samoa and Tongan. I just love seeing how proud they are of their cultures, and I reckon a lot of Australians look at their cultures and love it. Love seeing the haka, love seeing all their 100%. War cries. Everyone loves it, but I just feel I could be wrong. People could be listening and going, "No, you're totally wrong, Nicho." But I just feel when, say, before a game, the Aboriginal dance is on, people, I just don't get a vibe that they love watching that.
Yeah.
But I get a vibe that everyone loves seeing the haka. Everyone loves it. Why can't everyone love seeing, the Aboriginal people get up and do their dance before a game, or you know what I mean?
I think
Welcome
it's
to
education,
country.
bro. It's education for sure. I think once, for example, I grew up And the first Indigenous person I ever met was in rugby league. We were taught a tiny bit in study of religion, I think, a tiny bit about the Dreamtime, but it was taught as if like, here's this kind of like civilization that, yeah, whatever. Whereas I think a lot of schools now, hopefully, are teaching the true history of the Indigenous people, what they went through, and then once, like, here's an example. When I see the war dance or the Indigenous dance, like, I think, wow, like that dance, the history of it, they were doing similar dances 40,000 years ago,
Yeah.
and we're seeing that now. And that all comes from education, finding out that that's an old culture. And I think if a lot of people like, holy, like that dance, they used to do it before, before war or before like a greeting or whatever. You would obviously know far more than me. Apologies if I'm speaking out of turn. Yeah, I think it's education, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
I really think I think that New Zealand, although they have also a lot of problems, I think they did a much better job at educating their population and making sure the language is spilled. I know Indigenous language is different because it's different tribes can speak different dialects and all that kind of stuff, but I feel like we've got a long ways to go to incorporate it as much.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I think they can do better in schools, definitely. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, that's not. I think a lot of people think just because if you're very like, I think that should be taught, doesn't mean I'm not proud of my Australian culture either. Like, I'm so proud of my Australian culture, but I also do believe that like Indigenous, we got so much to learn about that. Like, how did you survive 60,000 years?
I know,
like, tell me that. Tell me that part.
Yeah, seriously.
Because like how Australia's 200 years? Like 60,000 years. Think about this. 60,000 years. Jesus, if you believe in Christianity, was only 2,500 years ago. 60,000 years. So that is
crazy when you put it like that.
30 times the depth. The pyramids is only 6,000 years ago. Indigenous culture is 60. Like, that is wild.
It's insane.
And if you put that in context to most people, they'll start to realize how incredible it is.
Yeah, for sure.
That the Indigenous population is still, against all the trials they've been through, are still here. Okay, yeah, well, walk us through growing up as a kid. You said that your mother went to prison. Now, what's funny is I've seen a bit of your clips talking about this, but I've purposely not watched the full thing because I always wanted to get you on the show and hear the story firsthand, because the amount of people that have responded to me like, mate, you've got to hear Nicho's story, blah, blah. Walk us through growing up and what it was like. Yeah,
so obviously born in Gossie. Spent a majority of my time in your minor, but I think my parents split when I was very young. Dad got a wife, Lisa, and she had a daughter, Jenna, so we've been with them for our whole life. And I obviously got a brother, Wade, and then me, Wade, and Mum lived together for a bit. And Mum actually found a new boyfriend, and I didn't even know why. I didn't think I've asked the question why, but we ended up packing up and moving up to Maitland, and which is near Newcastle, and we lived on a farm for a little bit. And we were on there for, I don't even know, a year or two, I think. And unfortunately, my mum's boyfriend was a truck driver, and he fell asleep on the wheel and died.
Wow.
Yeah, so that would have been heartbreaking times for my mum. Obviously, I don't really remember a whole heap of it, but that would have been a crazy time.
It's amazing how, like, such a traumatic event in your mum's life, as a kid, you don't fully grasp. Like, she actually went through that.
Yeah, exactly right.
She went through the death of her boyfriend.
Yeah, for sure.
Hectic.
Yeah, it's, I going through like a relationship breakup. It's like losing someone, because you're with them every day and then you're not. And so for mum to go through that, and she probably didn't have as much help as she would have liked through it. And me and my brother were only very young, so we couldn't help how we would have liked to.
Yep.
So we end up having to go back to your minor. We lived there for the remainder of our upbringing. But then obviously Mum kind of went a bit downhill, but I think that she got I think he might have got a parking ticket in her name, and she obviously had to keep driving us around. Single parent, had to drive us to footy games, school. She just kept getting caught one too many times, and end up getting put in prison for X amount of time through driving while disqualified, her licence.
They put her in prison.
Yeah, eventually.
A single mum.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that help anyone?
I know. Yeah, I know.
I'm sure there are going to be people that are like, oh, you break the law, this, that, next thing. Prison is supposed to be about reform. Like, it's supposed to be about helping society. Tell me how putting a single mother in jail helps anyone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, it happened, and
wow.
So we were very lucky that we still had my dad and stepmom to go live at.
Yeah.
Very grateful for that. But from then on, so I was probably about in kindergarten, year 1, year 2, I don't know.
Do you have a vague memory of her being like going to jail at all, or
Yeah,
not really?
Yep. I got plenty of memory because it happened for the next 6 to 8 years. She was just in and out. Obviously going in there, she must have maybe knocked around the wrong crowd.
Yeah. That's a problem though. That apologies for interrupting you, but that's the problem about once you put people into the system, they become a part of the cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why putting someone in jail that doesn't really belong there. Yes, what she did was wrong. She shouldn't have driven a license. Blah blah blah. But find the problem and rehabilitate.
Yeah.
Don't put her in the system and then anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
no, that's fine. It's what you're saying is perfectly right. But then she come out, and obviously it would have been hard to come back into society, get a job straight away.
Yep.
Who wants to hire someone who's just been in jail for
Absolutely.
X amount of time? But yeah, and she kind of hung out the wrong crowd again, and got into some things that she shouldn't have been doing.
Yep.
And just got caught again in those dramas, and off she went again, and just in and out for a long time. But probably the longest time she was in there for 2 years, 3 years maybe.
Wow.
Yeah,
you were allowed to go see her or not? She didn't want that.
Yeah, we were. I just don't think we made an extreme effort to. She would send letters and that. I remember one time we went and seen her. It was very hard.
Yeah.
But we still lived a life. I kind of lived a life where I'd lie about where she was. I was a bit not embarrassed, but I just didn't want my friends and their parents knowing what was going on with my mother. And so I kind of kept that a bit of a lie.
So you just told she was away, mum's away.
Just say, I think she said I said she was away looking after her mum in Maitland or something.
Yeah.
But we still played footy through all that time. Played footy at Umina Bunnies. Went to Umina Public School and still had a fairly good upbringing. I was lucky that I had dad, like I said, to keep us going. But obviously, I think you want your mum around, and there's certain things you need your mum for that you can't have your dad for.
Yeah.
I remember there was this one time where she come and pick me up from school. I think it was, she surprised me. She come out and I was doing sport on the oval, Umina Oval. Yeah. And whoever was on office duty that day come over and said, "Oh, Nicho, someone's here to pick you up." And I looked over and it was me mum. Hey, I haven't seen her in I don't even know how long. And I was just smiling and just sprinted over to her, just jumped in her arms, and I was like, "Fuck, this is the best ever."
Oh, 100%.
It was so cool.
Doesn't matter how old you get, bro.
Exactly
it's
right.
always like that.
Yeah, and that age, just not seen her for however long it was, and just laying eyes on her again, it was so cool. And but then honestly, not too long later, she was at a sports award day and she took me home, and must have took me to Macca's and we're having a great day, and then she called me up. She said, "Oh, Nicho, come down the street," and I went down the street and seen her, and literally 2 minutes later, she's getting crash tackled to the ground by an undercover cop and put her in handcuffs and chucked her away. And literally I witnessed all that happen. I was on my scooter, went down to see her, and she starts running, bang, took her down and chucked her away. And I think I was in year 5 then. I was about to go to footy training, and I was just like, holy shit, what has just happened?
Did the cops know that you were there?
Yeah.
And they just didn't, there's a kid, they didn't care?
No. It was
That's full-blown trauma, for a kid.
Yeah. People listening to this, or, people growing up, obviously would have been real quick to judge, of what mum was doing at the time. I look back at it now and I don't judge her one bit. She's still my mum and I still love her to death.
Yep.
She was just trying to do her best to raise and support me and my brother.
Yeah.
Could have she done it different? Fucking hope she could have done it different, but I'm never going to begrudge her, or, everything that's happened in my life, they're lessons learnt, and it's advice I've gained to give to other people now. Yep. So, I'm not going to take back anything that happened, but seeing those things that I've seen in my life, it was it's pretty traumatic, but it's happened. I can't take it away now, and seeing her get taken away that day was heartbreaking stuff. But a couple of years later, she come out and she was clean all through my high school life, and we had a great upbringing. And like I said before, I had my dad there, and Dad done everything for me in that time as well. Yep. So I was very lucky I had that. But what's happened in our life is made me who I am, and I'm not going to take that away from me or my brother or them as well. And I love my mum very much. I love my dad for doing what he done for me as well in those times.
Wow, that's incredible, man. For you to go through that and to see that, what did you think that you? Everyone deals with things differently. What did you used to tell yourself to try and push through seeing your mother, going through these situations,
Yeah, I think that I wanted to be an NRL player my whole life, and if I was going to get there, I was doing it for her. Obviously, doing it for my brother and my dad and his family as well. But I just knew that I can use those struggles for motivation, and they got to a point where I was like, fuck. I had my own struggles as well, but I just every time I was going through trainings and I wanted to get to where I was, and I just used it as motivation. And I think it would have been the easy option to just go down the wrong path because I've seen it all and I've had to deal with that. And I know a lot of people that just take an easy option in life, and I didn't want to take that easy option. I could have just went and go, oh fuck, my life's hard. I'm just going to go out and party and just get blind every weekend, get on the party drugs every weekend and go, fuck it, I've had a hard life. Yeah. But I didn't want to do that, I wanted to make something of myself. My brother wanted to make something of himself, and I wanted to do my family proud. And, if I get out on top, and then I can teach other people along the way that if they ever got a hard life, then they can get through it as well. And that's what I'm planning to do now. So just use it as motivation, I guess.
It's breaking the cycle, it's right. Very easy for, the reason why kids often turn to drugs or whatever, or sell it or whatever, it's because they've seen their parents do it, and it takes like one generation to go, nah, this is not going to be it. So then obviously you'll teach your kids to not do that. It's only going to hurt them, blah blah blah. Man, that's absolutely incredible to think that. And through all this time, were you making rep sides or anything, or were you just playing footy for the love of it?
Yeah, I remember my very first rep team was in year 6. Yep. It was the New South Wales schoolboys team. Mm-hmm. Tommy Trebojevic was in that team, actually.
Oh, the great Tommy Trebojevic.
Yeah.
So this time, were you kind of associated with Manly at all? Or?
No. So I was only in year 6. I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Jack Hetherington was in that team, actually, as well.
Oh, yep.
Connor Tracy. Junior Totola. So we had a fair few in that team, actually. So I remember making that team, and when Mum calls me every now and then from inside, it was such a proud moment to to tell her that I was in my first New South Wales team. Yep. And then a couple of weeks later, literally, I was playing local footy and fucking done my ankle and couldn't play. And that was like another tough conversation when Mum called me, like bawling my eyes out, saying I can't play and whatnot. But I still got to go away with the team and spend the time with the team, which was cool. And then obviously went off to high school and was still really enjoying my footy. Mum was out then, so life was going good. I played the Central Coast rep team, 13s, 14s, and then I was playing touch footy as well. Love touch footy. Yeah, absolutely love touch footy.
Touch footy is so good because you get all the benefits of playing footy without getting towed up. Yeah, and bashed the whole time. Yeah,
exactly right. And you learn so many different skills in touch footy that you can take into league. So then I was playing that, and then I played in the Sydney North, Sydney Red. That's like before you make New South Wales in the schoolboy stuff when I was about 15. And then Manly, that's when Manly seen me. Yep. And then they picked me up, and then I left the Central Coast. I still lived on the Central Coast. I just travelled to Manly all those years.
So you got signed by Manly under 20s?
Yeah, so I played Harold Matts under 16s, SG Ball under 18s for a couple of years.
So you were driving 20s. Like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Fuck. So how many times a week would you do that? Round trip of 4 hours.
So when we were in Harold Matts and SG Ball, before we had our own license, we'd get on the train, catch the train to Gordon, which is in North Sydney. Yeah. And then
how long's that from where you are to?
About an hour. Yep. And then one of the boys who was travelling with us, his dad would pick us up from Gordon, take us over to Manly, train for a couple of hours, and then we'd drive all the way home. So we do that twice a week. Yep. In Harold Matts, and then we'd travel. So that was Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Friday. We'll go up to the northern end of the coast and do gym with a trainer there. Yep. And then when it got to SG Ball, obviously the training starts picking up. But then in 20s, travelling down there bloody 4 nights a week. That's when we had a license. So I was driving down from the Central Coast to Manly and back 4 nights a week, and then occasional Saturday session.
So you'd be leaving at like 3 in the arvo.
Yeah, getting back at about 9:30, 10. Yeah, it was torture. Lucky I wasn't any good at school. Otherwise, that would have been so much harder if I was so switched on at school.
Were you waking up just like every morning?
Especially when we left school for that last year of 20s and you had to work all day. Yeah. So that was a bit of a torture trip. But and then my last year at Manly, I joined the first grade squad. when Trent Barrett came to the club. So I did the pre-season and throughout the year with them, and that was even more. So I was doing longer days at Manly. So I still live on the coast because I couldn't afford to go live in Manly.
Yeah.
It was just too hard, and I wasn't on any good contract at Manly at the time. And I just stayed at home and didn't have to pay rent. And I did the whole pre-season with first grade for free, so I wasn't earning any money. So I was travelling down 5 days a week, spending all this money on fuel, not earning any money.
Do you remember the conversation of them asking you to come train first grade?
Yeah, I remember. So I think our 20s coach, Chatty Randall, called me up and said, "Oh, come train with first grade." They were only back for like a week, and I think I trained one time with 20s, went back, trained with the first grade that day, and I think I trained really well and done some good things. And Chatty coming up to me in the gym and he goes, "Oh, Baz wants to see you in his office." I was like, "Oh shit, all right." And then I think I went to see him, but he was gone, and drove home, and my manager called me and said, "Mate, what did you do today? Because they want you to train for the rest of the preseason now, do the whole preseason with them." And he goes, "But there's a catch." And I was like, "Oh, okay, what's the catch?" And he goes, "Oh, they got no money to pay you." And I was like, "Oh." But like, it's my dream to train full time first grade. And I'm like, I'm not turning that down. So
No
I'm sweet,
way.
100%, I'm doing it. Let's go. I'll get my reward at the end of the preseason when I have a good preseason. And yeah, so I've done all that. Like,
I don't even know if that's legal, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not legal.
It's not legal at all. Like, you can't just expect someone to train like. Yeah, fuck. I mean, I would be the same as you, though. I'd do it.
Yeah,
I'd 100%
for sure. 100%
do it.
I'm doing it. And I was never going to say anything to anyone because I've been there from a junior and I love the club.
How'd you survive financially? Was you just living on fumes or what?
Pretty much. Like, I was just lucky I lived at home and Dad would help me out a bit.
You, like fuel money? Because it would cost you fucking $1 million.
Well, I had the 20s contract, but that was only like fucking a couple hundred a month.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's
nothing. Sometimes on a Wednesday, like it would just be a recovery day, so I would stay. I wouldn't go to the recovery day, and I'd just work with Dad for that day.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of a way I would make a couple hundred.
Work like 24-hour shift just to like make it.
But yeah, like,
do you remember your first session in first grade?
Do I remember it?
Or one of your first sessions, or rocking up going, "Holy shit, there's such and such"?
I remember actually not the session, but I think it was my second day. So my first day, I parked wherever I parked, and the second day, I remember I went and parked in Brett Stewart's car park, and he come in. I think we were all just doing our like rehab or fucking whatever it was, and he come in and he goes, "Someone's fucking parked in my car park." And,
no.
he goes, "Who was it?" Like looking around, and because I remember seeing his parked there the day before, and I was like, "Oh, that's
fuck.
me." I quickly ran out, moved it, and then we were all walking out to the field, and he goes, "Oh, someone's moved the car. Who was it?" And I was just like hiding, and he's sort of blowing up, but sort of not. And I was like, I don't want my first interaction to be Brett Stewart that I stole his car park.
Far out.
Yeah.
And like that, because he was like, because if you had just like done it quietly, you probably would have said, "Oh, yes, bro, I'll move."
Yeah.
But because everyone now knows.
Everyone knows.
You can't say anything.
I think I told Tommy, because me and Tommy are really close then.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Tommy, I think that's me." Eh?
Holy shit. You actually, what's funny is your highlights. I think it's either yours or Tommy's, but you're featured very heavily in his 20s.
No, I think he's featured heavily in mine.
Okay,
he made me look good.
But you were playing six?
I was playing six,
and he was playing one?
He was playing one, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy seeing you in a Manly jersey because I see you as a Storm player.
Yeah, I know.
So how did you go with the training and everything? Were you surprised at the intensity? Was there anyone that you saw training that really stood out to you of like, wow, that's a first grader?
Yeah, the intensity was huge, like something I haven't experienced before, but I was really enjoying it. Like I'm genuinely a fit guy, so the fitness and the games and all that didn't worry me. Just like the gym and the contact was probably the wrestle. Yes. Well, Siebes come to the club. And
Anthony Seabold?
Anthony Seabold.
Manly.
He was the assistant coach to Barrett that year.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, I didn't know that.
And he's been down at Melbourne, so he's obviously seen what they done for wrestle. So every Monday afternoon would go to
Monday after the weekend. Yuck.
Yeah, I know. A jiu-jitsu place in Manly somewhere. And I remember my first session coming up against all these boys. I'm thinking, far out, I'm going to have to tackle these guys.
Yep.
And I remember I ran at Jake Chawoy once and he just went sunk and just pumped me. And then I got all these other big boys coming at me and I was just like, fuck, I just got to get my body in front as much as I can.
Yeah.
But I just remember those sessions going, holy shit, I'm not looking forward to Monday afternoon every week.
You'd honestly, the night before, you'd have anxiety.
Yeah, big time.
Because you're like, oh no, like I'm about to get smashed. It's about to be endless, rah. As I got older, I kind of was much better at just going, you know what will be, will be. Because I used to get anxious because I wanted to win everything, like in a sense of like, I wanted to win fitness. Like I never wanted to, I was always anal of like, I never wanted to lose even a lap.
Yep.
Like if we're doing MAS or whatever, even one, because I used to hate the players that would fucking run like bastards for the whole session. Last one, they'd gas it.
Yeah, I know.
And look like heroes. And you're like, oh, okay, so I won every single one this whole time, and then you wait till the end to win it. You're a hero. But I would get anxiety because every day I'd want to win.
Yeah.
But as I got a bit older, I was like, you know what? I'll just go as hard as I can. Whatever happens, happens.
Sure. Yeah.
But when you're younger, you're just wigging out constantly.
Yeah.
Far out. Okay, so you're in the first grade squad for that whole season for free?
Yeah, pretty much. So I went all the way up until a few rounds in, and then I was playing 20s, and then I went up and played cup. So I was back kind of with the first grade squad for that couple of weeks, but then I got injured, and I was out for like the rest of the year pretty much, and didn't really spend any time with him for the rest of that year. Yeah.
That would have been a pretty big setback because you're flying first grade squad injured.
Yeah. Well, so after the preseason, I played my trial game against the Sharks. This was 2016. And I had one of my better games, and that on the Monday coming just before the video session, my manager rings me and goes, "Mate, fucking, they want to sign you for 2 years."
Yep.
And I was like, "Let's go. This is where I want to be. Like the club I've been at my whole life. I'm keen to sign. I don't give a shit what money it is." And then, and then we played 20s. I played 20s that first round against the Bulldogs, and we got smashed. And they're like, "Oh, we want to put it on hold." Yeah, I know. And then I was like, "Oh no!" And then our 20s team didn't win a game for the first 10 weeks.
Oh,
yeah. Fuck. And I so then Baz is like, "No, I don't want you playing that team anymore. Come up and play cup." And I went and played cup. It was one of my best games I've ever played, and it was in that cup game. And then I was going to be playing cup for the rest of the year. And then the next week was the rep round. Remember, we used to have a rep round as a bye, but the 20s played a catch-up game. So I went and helped him out to try and get him a win, and that's when I got injured.
Oh,
yeah.
Fuck.
And then I didn't play cup again for the rest of that
year.
You
didn't get that contract?
I didn't get the contract, and I was left there with nothing. But it is what it is. I don't have any. I don't hold Manly accountable for it. I've still got to play good footy when I come back from injury. But it is what it is. I was hoping for that 2-year contract, and it just didn't happen.
Shows you how much footy's about timing and luck sometimes.
Yeah, big time.
If you didn't have the attitude that you have, a lot of players similar to yourself, obviously they may not be as talented as you, but they go, you know what? They go back to New South Wales Cup and they just lose the passion for it because they're just like, stuff it, man. I'd rather just get a real job. Yep. I'm not playing for peanuts. Okay, so you don't get the gig. You don't get the gig with Manly, and then there's no NRL clubs interested.
No. And
so do you go looking for Mackay cutters then, or is that what happens then?
So it's I think it was the week of the last game. So Steve Shepherd, he was the Mackay coach, but he was at the Cowboys under 20s.
Yep.
And he was obviously seen me play over the past couple of years. And I think he knew Siebesy pretty well. And Siebesy told Chatty, the coach, and he just gave me a tip. He said, "Oh, mate, there's a guy from up North Queensland who's, wants your number and wants to have a chat. I'm going to give it to him. It could be good for you." And then I was just like, he hadn't called me yet, but at the time I was like, "No, fuck, I want to get an NRL club. I want to be NRL. I don't give a shit what happens. I'll go for free again. I want to be NRL."
Absolutely.
And I was getting impatient. I was a very impatient person then, and talking to my manager, and he's going, "Oh, mate, you could get an NRL club, but you just might have to be part-time, And I was just thinking, no. And then, like I said earlier in the podcast, this guy ended up ringing me, pup. And he was just ringing me, making me feel wanted. And he was the first guy that's ever gone, he really, really wanted me and made me feel good.
Yep. And
I followed the Cows my whole life. Big Jonathan Thurston fan, big Cowboys fan. And I was just had a think about it, had a yarn to my dad. And I was just like, maybe if I go up there, have a really good year, can work my way into the Cows system, that'd be a dream. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get out of my comfort zone. If not, I'll probably be stuck here my whole life. Ended up just doing what my mates do every weekend, going out partying. If you're going to give it a red hot crack, get out of your comfort zone. People have to go through reserve grade sometimes.
Yeah.
So I did it, and I was just like, I spoke to Pup again, and I said, I'm coming, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go give North Queensland a crack. And went up there.
Well, when you rocked up to Mackay, what's that for? You going, fuck, what's going on here?
Yeah.
No disrespect to Mackay, but Manly's a bit of a night, it's cruisier. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
What was it like?
It was different. It was I've never really been in a town where it's bit of coast, bit of country.
Yeah.
It was just it was so hot too. I remember me and my dad and my stepmom and me mate were unpacking the car into our house, and we were just dripping sweat. It was like I was in Bali for schoolies again. That's how hot it was.
Did everyone move up with you, or just
no? So my dad, the legend, he got in his ute and put some stuff on his ute, and we done the drive up together.
Yep.
So like him and my stepmom and me and like one of my best mates, TJ, because I got him a little training trial gig up there. So we took like 4 days and just casually drove up there, did a little holiday as well. But yeah, I just remember sweating that day, and we moved in, and my old man left, and I was getting real emotional. It was like the first time leaving home.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't too bad at start, but I didn't really have a whole heap of money.
Yeah.
And like I was doing a bit of work with NRL development at the time, and like it was the end of season, so there was no really work coming around. So I kind of didn't have a job when I first got there, and it didn't work out how I planned for that first 6 to 12 months. That's for sure.
Was it just tough as?
It was tough.
Did you begin to question? Because like usually, if you're going to play NRL, you can at least find a club that'll give you like, you know, training trial or 50 grand contract or just something small to get you by. Were you rattled by the fact that you just couldn't seem to get another NRL club? Was that something that hurt your confidence? This may not work for me, or were you always like, I will make it work?
No, it did. It hurt my confidence big time. Like, you know, I've went from the highest of high of training with first grade, like at Manly with Terry Chervin, Jamie Lyon, you know, even Tommy, who I grew up playing with my whole life. I was on a high, like I was loving it. I was going to get offered a 2-year contract, and then obviously I got injured. Then I got told that I wasn't wanted at the club, and then I've gone to, you know, having just a reserve grade contract. Like, you know, that shoots the confidence big time. And you know, as a young kid, sometimes you don't know how to handle with it. And when you're playing 20s, I don't know if you might have played in the 20s.
I didn't play 20s. I debuted the year it come in.
Yeah, okay. So obviously for us, when we're playing 20s, we're following it around everywhere. Yeah. We're just thinking, fuck, how good is this? We're pretty much NRL players. Yeah. The next step is not reserve grade, it's straight into the NRL. Yeah. We're getting used to playing at the stadiums, flying around with them, you know, the jersey. Like, all you're thinking about is next step is first grade, and it didn't happen for me. And I'm seeing like some other players who I played against going straight in the NRL, and I'm just thinking, far out, why is that not me? Yeah. And I probably could have waited out and been a little bit more patient and tried to get like you know how I went to Sunny Coast and got the preseason with the Storm. I could have tried to wait, like maybe when a club offered me a preseason, but I don't know why. I just felt like he wanted me there. I wanted to be there. Cowboys, let's just go. And I just done it. And in hindsight, maybe I should have waited back a bit, but I'm not going to change what I've done because it's made me who I am right now. And I've went through those challenges, but I'm here now talking to you. I wouldn't maybe not be talking to you right now if I didn't do that, you know?
100%.
So, I done it, and fuck it. I always say like it was either going to make me or break me, and fucking hell, I was this close from breaking me, but I got through it and I'm here.
What was the toughest time in that first 6 to 12 months? Were you playing poor footy, or was it?
No, it was like, so I had a missus at the time, and then so I moved away. She stayed. You know, first time away from home, no money. I remember after the Chrissy break, I come back up to Mackay. I went to Byron for New Year's and like spent my money, and I remember going up to Mackay after the Chrissy break and New Year's, and I literally had like $300 in my bank account. And I was on, what do I do here, seriously? Yeah. And then I had to ring up Dad and ask for some money, and he transferred me some money, and then that went pretty quick. So then I had to ring up Mum and ask for some money, and you know, literally, like, it was just a struggle. Like, it was the biggest struggle. And then, you know, me and the missus were kind of going downhill. So I was struggling with that. And then it just come to a time where I was just fucking broken, man. Like, it's everything just started adding up. Yeah. And I just remember one night I was just in my room and looking at the ceiling, just cried. And I just thought, this isn't working out how I planned. You know, my mate ended up going back because he had a missus back home, so he didn't stay. He went home. I got I got one of my boys to come in, Boothie, but you know,
that's just signed with the Titans.
Yeah. So he'll be brought up, and he's a main part of why I'm here still, actually. So like I was just no money. You know, me and my girlfriend had pretty much done. Missing family. Just nothing was working out how I just planned in my head it was going to work out. Yeah. And I just started going down the slippery slope very, very fast. Yeah. And just come to a point where I think would have been a few rounds in. I think we just got flogged by Townsville Blackhawks, and then a week later, you know, Mrs. rang up and said, "Nah, we can't do it anymore." So, you know, I literally had to fly home. I wanted to try and sort my life out back home, and it just didn't work out how I thought I was going to when I went home, come back up, and
So as in you flew back to try to get the relationship to work?
Yeah, and it just didn't.
Yep.
And, flying back up alone, no relationship, no money, like, I was just fucking, I was an emotional wreck. And
yep.
Our coach said, mate, you got to go see a doctor. I went to the doctor and he diagnosed me with depression. And, I was like...
Good coach.
Yeah. Well, they were big believers of mental health then. Or not then, they are, but they really drove it. And he must have obviously seen something in me. And I knew that there was something wasn't right with me because that was going on for a couple of months. And and I was sitting in my room alone for a long time going, what's wrong with me? And not letting anyone know. And I was too worried to call Dad and my mum and my brother at the time, so I didn't really call them until it was at its worst. And after I got diagnosed that day, I remember I went home and just cried, and like Boothie and that come in, was just going, what's wrong? And I said, I told him, and I was just so embarrassed, like really embarrassed, because you grow up as a footy player, you're the popular kid, and you just don't think that anything like that's going to ever happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just remember that day, it was just ridiculous. Like I was just so embarrassed, and it just happened. And I just feel like I didn't know whether I had it my whole life through the trauma with my mum, and then now it's just got kicked off, or whether it was just all that happened there at the time, it just kicked off. But I just reckon I was probably had it for a long time, and just that moment there, breaking up with the missus, no money, away from home, it just all hit me at once and just went bang. And and I dealt with it for a long time. I'm just very, very lucky that I had, a good support network in my family.
Do you think that I'm not a therapist or whatever, I guess I can relate to a certain degree. Do you think it was you being successful at rugby league kind of masked a lot of the issues that you had?
Yeah.
And as soon as rugby league, the one thing that went good in your life wasn't going good, you didn't have that one saving grace to turn to and go, well, at least I'm good at footy. At least I'm fucking a good footy player. At least I'm going to play NRL.
Yeah.
Whereas as soon as it came to the point where you're thinking, I actually might not play that, then you start asking yourself, what am I? What am I even here for?
Exactly right. And obviously me not getting an NRL contract after 20s and then seeing the start of that year, some of the players I used to play against, and I thought maybe I'm just as good as we're playing NRL. And I was just like questioning whether I'm good enough now. And like you said, because footy wasn't really that what I thought it was at the time. It kind of got taken away from me, and I just wasn't where I thought I should be. We kind of didn't have a great start of the year in Q Cup, and I wasn't playing great footy, and I was just questioning whether am I good enough anymore? I'm playing reserve grade, I'm not really carving it up. You expected to carve it up if you're coming up here as a main signing for the team. And then I was just I rang home and I thought, I'm going to throw it in. I'm coming home. I'll be the local hero playing for our local club and just play that, get a job, and that's me.
Yeah.
And then that's when the family nah, you're not coming home.
They knew how good you were.
Yeah.
They knew
I had ability.
Yeah.
And they knew what I was capable of.
Yeah.
And I just probably forgot about it.
Yeah.
And they just had to point me in the right direction. And I said it on the YKTR podcast the other day. My brother actually got up me because I said, my mum said, think of the 5-year-old kid that when you had a dream, but it was actually Wade reckons he said it. I
really?
Both said it. But so one of them said it to me. He said, just think of the 5-year-old Nicho, when you were a kid, when you used to fucking put all the footy gear on, go to sleep in it. Think of the dream you had back then, and don't let him down. Go make it, do it. And then it really resonated with me. I'm not going to let down my fucking 5-year-old self.
Yeah.
I'm going to work hard, and just imagine how good it's going to feel when I get through this.
Nice.
Get to where I want to be, and I run out in the NRL field and do my family proud. So that moment really made me want to turn the corner.
Yep.
I was just very lucky that I had them in my corner. And Aaron Booth went through rode the wave with me big time. I remember one day he come home to me just curled up on a ball, crying, and I rang him up. I said, please come home. He had to leave work to come home to me like that.
Wow.
He was like, fuck, I didn't know I was going to come home to that day, because he knew how bad I was.
Yeah, 100%.
But that was just my headspace at the time. I was just didn't know what was going on. I couldn't deal with my emotions, and it just all hit me. And I started seeing counsellors. I don't think I reacted well to the counsellors. So the first lot of counselling I'd done, I didn't really enjoy. When I went home for the off season after that year, and I had a big weekend, and I think I got on. I must have had some party drugs. Got on the drink for the whole weekend, a big bender. And I had to come down and, it all hit me big time.
It's like
then.
The worst thing that you could do.
Yeah, the worst thing I could have done in my head space then.
Yep.
And that day I literally was like, what am I doing here? What's my purpose? And I remember just walking around Mum's house looking for a rope, and I was like,
wow.
And then I couldn't find it, and I just thought to myself, fuck, what were you going to do even if you found it? Were you actually going to do it? But to even have those thoughts,
absolutely,
it was just hit me then going, fuck, I do not want to feel like this ever again. And then I went back up to Mackay because I re-signed, and I sat down with the captain. His name's Tom Murphy, and he just gave me so many harsh truths, so many, no one's ever sat me down and just really said some truths to me, just saying if you don't sort your fucking self out right now, you're going to end up being furniture here in Mackay. You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to become an NRL player if you don't sort your off-field right.
Yeah.
And he just really sat me down and laid the law to me, and I was like, fuck, I needed that. He said, go fucking see counsellor, do it properly, otherwise you're going to be stuck here and you're not going to live out your dream. And I respected that so much because no one's really done that to me.
Yeah.
And I went and seen counselling again, done it properly, started to get my life on track again. And then we didn't have a good year as a team, but personally I had a really good year.
Yep.
And then ended up getting an opportunity.
Wow, that's just there's so many little things that went. I mean, obviously a lot of things went wrong, but when you look, I mean, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. There's so many things that went right to keep you here, keep you on the straight and narrow, and not go the wrong way. And the suicidal thoughts. The bizarre thing is when you're in that headspace, you don't actually realize, even if you're saying to yourself, "Oh, I may not have done it," or whatever. The fact that you're even thinking that, that's the problem. It's a slippery slope, because if you're thinking that, if you keep thinking like that, you'll eventually get to the point. But when you're in that headspace, you don't realize that that's the headspace you're in.
Exactly right.
It's only until you're out of it and you're like, I wouldn't even think about that.
No.
So it's very hard to relate to someone that's in that mental headspace because they're not thinking the same way.
Yeah, not at all.
That a normal person's thinking.
No.
They're questioning certain things that you wouldn't even think to question.
Yeah. I'd walk around in the shopping centres back home, and I'd be embarrassed and scared to walk through there because they had no idea what I was going through, but I thought they were looking at me, judging me and laughing at me because I had depression kind of thing. Absolutely. But they had no idea, but that's just what goes through your mind. You just
100%.
think of the most silliest things, and looking back at it, I just can't believe that that I could had those thoughts in my head, because right now I would never even think like that anymore.
Yep. The bizarre thing is though that when you're in that moment, you're not thinking it's weird to think like that.
Yeah.
That's just your reality.
Exactly right.
You don't have the foresight to know this isn't normal. You're just this is the way I live now. This is the way I think.
For sure.
Mate, it's so good that you had the guy there that gave you the hard truths. And for people also, when it comes to mental health, the recovery, it's not an overnight thing.
No, not
it's
at all.
It's a slow process. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, well, it's just seeing counsellors. I went once a week and seeing him. And then I think surrounding myself with positive people.
Yep.
Aaron Booth was one of them. He was exceptional through it all.
What a legend.
Yeah, legend. Absolute
some
legend.
Beer. Hey, Boothie, you want some beer? I'll send you some.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was great. And then I tried to, I think I had to stay off the piss for a little while, purely because it's a depression anyway in itself, on the piss. And just constant calls back home to dad, brother.
Yep.
Even some of my mates. And then I think, I don't know, just trying to get into a better headspace, just working extremely hard on the little things, and just not looking at the bigger picture of being in the NRL or other players playing NRL, and just controlling what I can control. And I started to do that. I started to pick myself up, and people being there for me, and then starting to play some good footy again. I was never a big believer of you have to get your off-field right to play good on-field. I was always like, fuck, I can just turn up and play 80 minutes on the field easy. I don't give a shit what's going on behind my life behind closed doors, but I was so wrong.
Yeah.
Once I started getting all the shit together, that's when the footy started playing good again, and I started getting confidence back, and people started believing in me, and and then I eventually had the Falcons reach out, and off I went, kind of thing.
So the Falcons reach out. But do they reach out as a purely reserve grade, or do they reach out of, if you go well here, the Storm, they know who you are, there may be an opportunity?
Yeah, well, at first, I remember the day I played against the Falcons at Bowen as a country round. And Harry Grant tries to tell me all the time that he's the reason why I got to the Storm.
Oh, turn it up.
So Chris Flannery, he's the CEO there, and he came up to me at the pub because everyone goes to the pub after the game. And he's like, "Oh, Nicho, what are you doing next year?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Why, what do you got?" And he goes, "Mate, we'd love to have you on the Sunny Coast." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, that'd be mad."
Yeah.
Because I was always trying to get into the Cows, but they kind of brushed me. And then he spoke to me manager, and at first I was signed 2 years. First year, no preseason Storm. Second year preseason.
Yeah.
So I think they might have had their preseasons like already offered out to other people.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck, just try to get the preseason." And then like a week later, I think it turns out, manager texts me. It was like, "Mate, we've got the preseason." And I remember I was working at a primary school and as a teacher aide, I looked at my phone. I literally like was starting to tear up. I was like, "Fuck, no way! This is my opportunity. Like, this is it.
Yeah,
this is what I've been waiting for."
The Melbourne Storm too.
Melbourne Storm, yeah. Like I was.
Did they just win the comp? They would have. So 2019, so 18 was
no,
Roosters.
they lost to the Roosters.
And for the year 17, they won the comp?
17-1.
Yeah.
17-1.
So, I mean, they're the Melbourne Storm. They're fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, and I was like, far out. Let's go. And then I was really starting to prepare to go to the Melbourne Storm. And, yeah, Harry reckons at the pub that night he got asked. Flano asks Harry and goes, "Oh, who do you think's better out of the halves in the Mackay team? Because we want him." And then Harry reckons he's like, "Oh yeah, Nicho was good. Let's get Nicho. He seemed like a good bloke and all that." And I was like, "Fuck off, Harry." Till this day, he reckons he got me there. But
Harry would have been in like his second year of first grade, third year. Second year of reserve grade.
Yeah.
The coach is like, "Oh yeah, you reckon, mate?" Yeah. That's hilarious. If I was Harry, I'd claim it too, though.
Yeah.
I'd claim it too.
And then I finished my time up in Mackay. And then I was going to go to the Falcons and work my way down to Melbourne.
What's the butterflies rocking up to that? You would have been so excited rocking up to first day of preseason with the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, big time. Before that, I remember ringing me old man, saying that I'm going to do a Storm preseason. It's like something I've been waiting to call in for because me and my dad, obviously we grew up together with footy, and he was always my coach, and he supported me through the whole time with footy, and he was the guy I still do always turn for footy. So to give him that news was huge, and to give him more news that I'll talk about a bit later was even better. But so when I done that was fucking unbelievable, and I knew that once I got the Storm preseason that this opportunity could be my very, very last. I could never get an opportunity to be in an NRL system again. So I wanted to, I knew how hard the preseason was. So that off season, I trained my absolute ass off to prepare myself for the Melbourne Storm preseason. So I'd done a mini preseason before the preseason. So I went down there the first day, walking into the doors, I was just like, far out. This is unbelievable.
The Mecca of rugby league, pretty much.
Yeah. And, all the boys coming up and making you feel welcome, shaking your hand. And I was just like, fuck, this is where I'm meant to be. Where have the Melbourne Storm been my whole life kind of thing, and stepped foot on the field, and it was just the intensity was unbelievable, and the coaching staff, the way they, every little detail they put into it was just amazing. And I remember, I think it was the second or third day, I literally said, "This is the footy field." I just put my foot onto the footy field, and Billy Slater's already there with his hand out, shaking my hand, asking who I am, what I'm about, where I'm from, and that. And I was
so rare.
Far out. This is the GOAT of fullbacks, literally, of Queensland, everything. I grew up hating Queensland, but just to see how much care and how nice he was for me, who I'm not even a contracted player there. I'm just not there on a preseason. So
you're a Q Cup
player. And he doesn't even have he doesn't even have to come over and talk to me. You know what I mean?
And to be honest, and you would back this better than anyone, the amount of, no offense to Q Cup players, the amount of shit Q Cup players that come and train with first grade and just they do one session, they can barely handle the fitness, and they're just gone. Yeah, they just get rotated through so much. So it's very obviously you show everyone respect. Everyone does that, but it comes to a point where if you come up to every single Q Cup guy and try to build a relationship, they're usually gone in 2 weeks and you never see them again.
Yeah, exactly right.
So for Billy to do that, it just shows you what kind of bloke he is.
And he was just willing to help me out from that day on, and I just proved what the Melbourne Storm player is about. He's been retired or he just was retired, but for him to care about every single player in that building, it's just what Melbourne Storm players are about. And
Absolutely.
I just knew then and there he was a legend, and I just wanted to be at that club. And very, very hard pre-season doing the IDQ camp.
Did Army camp? I was
camp,
going to say, all that training, did it prepare you for the Army camp?
Yeah. Like, I was so nervous because all the boys like were literally talking about it, like, oh, I can't wait for you to go on the Army camp. But literally, like, I think 2 days before the Army camp, Cheese messaged me, and I've played against Cheese and knew a lot of mutual friends of him, but he messaged me going, mate, if you go win that Army camp or go kill it, there's your contract.
100%.
He said that to me, and I just got a random message off him. He's never spoken to me before, and I was like, fuck, that's mad if he's just told me that. And
that's to hear that from a guy that's in it, it gives you so much hope and like motivation.
Exactly right. And I was just like, fuck, I'm going to go kill this.
Yeah,
like,
fucking oath.
This is my chance. And Belzer was there watching the whole time. It was so funny.
Was it 72 hours, 48 hours?
It was like, it was 3 days, 2 nights, I think.
So 72 hours pretty much.
Yeah. And it was mad. Like, we had a great crew, and you learn a lot about yourself on those things.
Bloody oath, you learn a lot. And you know what you learn? You find surprisingly people you thought that are mentally tough aren't. Yeah. And people who you didn't think were mentally tough are.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a very, like, you can't explain. You can only speak about army camps with people that are not like little pissy army camps that are for fun. I'm talking about the hardcore ones that obviously we've been on. Unless you've been on one, you don't really understand how in depth and how far they'll push you mentally. Yeah. Further than you'll ever think you could go, and you'll go further than you ever thought you could go.
Exactly right. And I remember we were doing this bloody walk, and it was just, you can't talk to anyone for hours. Yeah. You just have to walk in silence. And I got these big blisters on my foot, and I remember I was like, fuck, I need to go see the physio to get them strapped up so I can keep going, because they were counting how many laps you were doing. Yeah. And I remember I went over to the physio and quickly took it off, and Belzer was like right there, and I was like, no, I wish he wasn't here right now, because he must think I'm like
being soft.
And then he's like, he was tapering it up. I was like, no, I'll be sweet. I was just get it on right now and let's go. And I've already all the boys have done a couple extra laps before I've done it. Yeah. And I just went, fuck, this could be like him counting me out for this contract. Yeah. And then I just put it on, and I just flew for ages to try and catch up, because I was like, no, this is going to hurt me. Yeah. And I remember just thinking, come on, think of your brother, think of your mum, think of your dad, think of your family, let's go. And I just flew around as fast as I could to try and catch up with the boys. Ended up coming like third, I think, but Shando and Tommy Izo were flying. I couldn't catch them.
Who won it?
Izo won our one.
Wow.
Him and Shando were neck and neck.
It's always the guys that are like the most desperate to win. You know what I mean? Like yourself was so desperate. Yeah. Shandor was trying to make it in the NRL again, and then obviously Tommy was like reserve grader.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Well, Tommy got like he won it, and then me and Shandor got like honourable mentions.
Okay.
So that's like second or third. I don't know what you can give or take what honourable mention is, whether they're saying that you've done well because you started shit, or you've done well through the whole thing. I don't know, but
I think honourable mentions is like you went well. Yeah, like you went well.
Yeah, and then after that, I remember we were all like, when you come back from the army camp, the whole Melbourne Storm club's out there having a barbecue. Yeah, and you come back and you just see everyone there, and they're all in silence, and you drop down, do a few more push-ups, and get up, and then they start saying who won it and all that, and then afterwards, like, it's just a big round of applause for the whole club, and every single one of the boys come over and shake your hand and like ask for the stories, and that, it was so mad. Like, it was one of the best feelings. And then like Frank come over to me afterwards, and he goes, "Hey Nicho, how are you?" Like, I was like, "Yeah, good." And then Frank's like, "Mate, Craig was really impressed with you. We want to invite you back after Chrissy for a couple more weeks." And I was like, "Oh yes,
that's sick.
That's hectic."
Let's go.
I was like fucking so pumped. It was just an unreal feeling. And then obviously got to call my parents and say, because that was my goal to be invited back. So I ticked that off. And then the invitation was to come back to the Geelong camp for 2 weeks. They do a Geelong camp. So I went back and done that, and like that was torture. Yeah. Because it's all like in that time of the year, it's 13 to be 13. They're getting real serious, and like I was just off to the side running the whole time. I know, and I was like, "Fuck, what have they invited me back for? I'm just off to the side doing nothing." Yeah. But that camp, I learnt hell of a lot, like so much, like in the meetings and everything that's going on at the club. Fuck, I learnt shitloads, and then after that, we went and done this big hill session for the final day, and I was saying goodbye to him again, and Aaron Bellamy and Bells was like, mate, thanks for your time. We'll get you back down for a trial, and you never know what can happen. Go play good footy, and you could be back down here. And I remember going home on that flight I went back to the sunny coast, and I had this book and everything I wrote down in that pre-season, and I just summarised it all. I just wrote everything down that I need to do to go and be signed by Craig Bellamy, like what I need to implement in my training at Sunny Coast, how I need to start the season, how I need to play, and what Craig Bellamy sees in his players. And I just wrote it all down. And then, I'll just keep reading it. And then I was like, I'm going to go train at the Falcons like I'd be training at the Melbourne Storm, and then prepare like I'm going to be playing for the Melbourne Storm for the Falcons.
Fuck, smart.
And for that first 5 to 6, 7, 8 rounds, whatever it was, I played really, really well.
Yep.
And then Frank calls me up one day and goes, Nicho, we want to sign you.
Fuck,
and I was like, no way. Because I was on the phone to my manager. I was at the Australian Zoo with my brother and sister-in-law. And my manager called me and goes, mate, there's a couple of clubs interested. Just want to let you know, like, I keep playing good footy.
Yeah.
I go, anything from Storm? And he goes, oh, no, nothing yet.
Fuck.
Go off the phone, and I had a voicemail from Frank saying, Nicho, can you give me a call, mate? And literally got off the phone to manager, get straight on the phone to Frank, and he's saying, mate, we want you to come down. We're going to have a meeting about it next week, what we want to do with you. We'll give you a call next week. And then a week later he calls me and goes, mate, we want to sign you for next year, but not only next year, we want to bring you down right now. And I was like, fuck.
Mate,
that was honestly like the best feeling in the world. And that was another phone call to my dad that I was just like so happy to call him.
Was it a year deal or a 2-year deal?
2-year deal.
Fuck, how good is that?
Yeah, and like, fuck, that was just like, fuck. So good.
That's
like
sick,
just so
man.
mad just to think about everything and reflect. And I was like, fuck yes, I'm going. I'm doing it.
And I've got the contract. It's there. I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Fuck, I didn't get no contract after army camp. You get a contract. You know what's funny is though that the dude, the SAS dude, invited me to come and he's like, we need blokes like you in the thing, if you want to come trial with us. I was like, bro, I'm here to play fucking footy. I'm not here to join the SAS army. That's incredible, bro. And so when you're flying down there, like, what's the headspace? Are you just like, I'm going to give everything. My whole life is going to be dedicated.
Oh yeah, for sure. I ended up driving down there. My old man jumped in and helped me.
Podcast? We listen to podcasts on the way down? Or music?
Nah, just music. And
are you a podcast man?
Not really.
Really?
Like,
I thought you'd be a podcast man.
Like if someone tips me up to listen to one, I will.
Yeah.
I kind of want to start my own podcast, and I've not even listened to one. But
you know what? It's like everything that I do. Like I try not to consume too much other people's content.
Yeah, right.
Because like I want to keep thinking along my wavelength.
Yeah,
like, and as soon as you start polluting your mind with other people's ideas, although like, maybe this is the wrong advice or the wrong way to go about things, but even like little things like I'll have other people that I work with or whatever that's like, oh, look what this beer company did or what this beer company did. I'm like, I try not to look at that because then I'll never be the same. Once I witness that idea, I'm never going to be the same. If I didn't witness that idea, and my thinking's never going to be the same, I'm going to go down a different path to what I would have if I hadn't have viewed that.
Yep.
And so like, maybe it is a good thing that you aren't listening to podcasts because you might bring something completely unique that hasn't been done before because you're not biased by what's come before you and thinking that there is a certain way to do things. Like, I often believe that if everyone thinks something is good, then that's not the direction to go. And what I mean by that is like, if you ever want to revolutionize something, it's actually got to feel not right to begin with.
Yeah, okay.
Because like, it's got to feel counterintuitive. Because if everyone already believes it's good, that means it's already been done. And if everyone has the intelligence to think it's good, you've got to think of something that they're not going to think of if you want to revolutionize something.
Yeah, it's great advice, actually. I like that.
And so maybe that'll work for you.
Yeah,
maybe you'll revolutionize podcasts.
Fingers crossed.
Sorry, I got a bit sidetracked there. Matty, he's always fucking sidetracked. Okay, so you get down there and you make your debut at the same time that you debut only a few months that year?
A couple months later,
yeah. Okay, so walk us through the debut. How'd that come about?
Oh, man, like, remember how we were talking before I think podcast started about like being down there, just holding the pads. So when I signed down there, the first couple of weeks, I was just kind of like, not left to the side. I was still doing everything, but it was kind of just like, nah, you just do all the things with the reserve grade.
Yeah.
And I was...
You're there to kind of like make the numbers up.
Yeah. And like, obviously, I had to know that I was going down to do that. I'm not going to just walk in straight in the first grade.
100%.
But me being me, I'm just like, no, I want to be involved in everything. I want to do everything. But you got to know your place, obviously. So I'll just tell you a quick story.
This is how entitled I was to show you, like, when you're younger, you kind of get this, like, no, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I remember we were all hungover as fuck in 2006 when the Broncos made the grand final. We hadn't trained for months or whatever, or like weeks, maybe 4 weeks. Been drinking the whole time. This is the reserve graders, and they like called us in to hold pads for them for the grand final, and I was sooking. I was like, man, I don't want to hold the pads. Now I look back and I'm like, you should be honoured. They're about to win a grand final, you piece of shit.
100%.
Oh my god! So you're not the only one that gets impatient.
Yeah, 100%. I called my dad and I was just like, man, I just want to do everything. I want to play it so bad. Like seeing all the video sessions now, seeing everything, how they do it all, and I'm like, far out, I want to play so bad.
Yep.
But I knew, I was like, fuck, I'm not going to play. But then, like, come round, I forget what round it was, because they were playing at Central Coast in a few weeks, and I remember back when I first started the preseason, I seen the draw come out, and I rang my brother, and I was like, fuck, wait, they're playing a game at Central Coast. I want to work my ass off so I can be picked that game.
No way.
Anyway, fast forward 10 months, and it was coming up, and I was just like,
surely not.
Yeah, I was like, nah, damn it, no one's getting injured. It's just not going to happen. They're traveling so well. Just keep preparing to go up the Sunday Coast, Nicho.
Yeah.
And then that week came, and Jerome Hughes rocked up. He was starting fullback, and Paps was on the bench. And Romy rocked
it's
up.
fucking wild. Jerome Hughes, like the second or third best half in the comp.
Yeah.
And Paps, the Clive Churchill's on the bench, like, fuck.
Crazy, yeah. And Romy rocked up with a bad back, and like he was literally walking in like he was a 80-year-old man. And I looked at him and I was like, hey, what's wrong with you? What happened? Anyway. And then we went to, I think it was the day we went to the cinema to watch the Adam Good story about, how he got racially abused and all that.
Just quickly, apologies. Anyone that's listening, please watch that documentary.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Because even I had I didn't know what had happened. I only knew what the media had portrayed.
Yeah.
And so even although I understood like Adam Good's plight, I was also of the mind of like, well, they're booing. That's part of sport.
Yeah.
Like they just don't like him as a player or whatever. Please, anyone listening to this, go in with an open mind, because I was I'll be honest, before it I was like, it's sport, you get booed.
Yeah.
I just didn't know the full story. Watch the documentary.
Yeah,
What's it called? It's
what is that called?
oh fuck.
Sure, you look up Adam Good's doco.
It's the Australia or Australian Dream.
Australian Dream, yeah.
Great documentary. Sorry,
great one. Yeah, so we watched that. But before we went in, me and Harry, like besties down there, we were sitting together. Money was over here, and there was like this weird mirror in front of us. And Money's like, Nicho, stop licking your lips. And I was just like, the fuck are you on about? I thought he was just thinking I was looking at myself in the mirror like licking my lips.
Yeah.
I was like, Money, shut up. And he goes, nah, stop licking your lips. You're going to play this week. And I was like, what? Because then Paps walks in with a boot on, a moon boot.
Oh,
and I'm like, he's got a bad back. Paps has a moon boot. I was
surely.
Like, no way. So we went and watched Doco. Didn't even think anything about it.
Yeah.
And the next day, we went out to train, and it was like the first time I've ever been, like, they put it on the whiteboard. My name was in fullback for the first grade team.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? There's no way.
And you were named at 1 or in jersey 18?
No, like it wasn't on the team. It was just on the whiteboard for when we go out and do like 13v13.
Yeah, okay.
So who's in each team? So I was on the first grade team, and when we done a bit of like left on right, and then I like went out and like trained really, really well. And I remember like just throwing this nice ball to Chambers, put him through like a hole, and Chambers comes over going, fuck, that was mad. Like, I haven't done that for ages. Like, that would be sick to play with you and that. And then I think he might have gave me a rap to Belzer or whatnot. And I think I trained pretty well. And then Belzer come like strolling over to me. I think I was about to go do some extras, just some catching the bombs. And Crofty was there and I was here, and he like walked. I was like, oh, he must be going to talk to Crofty. Walked straight past Crofty and come to me. Yeah. And I was like, he's coming over to me here. So I was just acting cool. He comes over and he goes, so the boys could be out. I might give you a crack. I thought, really? And he goes, yeah, we'll just have to see how they go tomorrow. you're not going to be named the 21, but that doesn't matter if they get ruled out. We'll try and change it anyway. And then I was like, trying not to smile. And then he's walking off, and I was like, oh, if I don't, can I come anyway? It was like my hometown. I was like, it's in my hometown, Central Coast, like 18th minute or something.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, it is 2A. He goes, oh, yeah. And just kind of walked off. And then tomorrow come, and like that night I couldn't sleep. I didn't want to ring anyone, but I rang my brother. I didn't want to ring Dad because I knew how excited he would get. Mum just would go insane. Yeah. So I rang my brother. I was like, oh, Wade, it could be a chance. Don't get too excited yet, but it could be a chance. Anyway, next day comes around, and then I hadn't been told anything yet. So I just went and done to the reserve graders were doing gym. And I was just like in there, and I was like, oh, no one's come and got me yet. First grader doing video, like I must be. And then Hoffy come in and go, Nicho, you meant to be in here? I was like, oh, yes. And then ran in. I was doing the video, and like the physio come in and like, goes, oh, no, Hughesy's no good. So he ruled Hughesy out. And I was like, oh, one down.
Yeah. one down.
And then I'd done all the video with the first grade first time that day. And we went out to train. And then I was with the first grade boys again, did the session. And I think Paps was over doing like a fitness test with our physio, Jonesy. And I was kind of seeing him like, I was like kind of looking over there. And then I think I kind of seen him like walk off early. Yeah. And I was like, oh, they must have been no good. And then after the session, Bells would come over and goes, looks like the two boys are no good.
Far out.
I'm going to chuck you in. And he goes, but we've got to get a clearance off the NRL first. But if we do, you're in. And I was like, oh, no way. But then I was still like, don't get too excited.
What if the NRL doesn't clear you?
Yeah, I was thinking back when I got really excited about that contract with Manly, and then that got let down. And I was like, fuck, what do I do? Do I get excited? And all the boys like slapping me up going, yeah, just pump up. Let's go. You're playing NRL. Fuck. And then I went home. I went to my phone quickly, called my brother. I said, go get Mum, take her around to Dad's, get the family there. And then I FaceTime him, and I was like, fuck, Dad, I'm playing NRL. And then like they're all loud, and Dad's like, everyone shut up. What did you say? And I was like, I'm playing NRL. And they were just pumped, man. It was mad. And I said, don't get too excited. We've got to wait until it's cleared. And then next day, well, Aaron Bellamy, actually, Craig's son, messaged me that night going, Nick, I'm so pumped for you. Like, it's mad. You deserve it. And then I text back going, is it cleared yet? And he just didn't reply. And I was like, oh. Far out. And the next day, I was at a cafe with Curtis and Harry. And I got a call off Hoffy. He goes, mate, it's clear you're playing. And I just went, no way. I quickly rang my dad, told him. And then, and it was like that afternoon I was getting on a flight to Sydney and travel down to the Central Coast where I was, like up to Central Coast where I was from. And I was just like, fuck, there's no way. Like, chances. I'm about to debut in my hometown. Right. What the hell? How does that happen? Like,
mate, it does it. That's crazy.
I know.
Crazy.
It was just insane how it all worked out. And yeah, it was pretty sweet.
And so do you remember anything from the game specifically at all? The day
yeah, plenty. So I got plenty of tickets. Like there's like a whole bloody section for my family and friends. Stayed at Terrigal, and then we did the captain's run and went back home to have a lunch with everyone for the captain's run, after captain's run, and then the Jersey Prezzo was that night, and Dad and Mum, my brother and my sister-in-law and stepmom came, and my brother handed me my jersey, which was unreal.
That's sick.
And then got to the next day, got to the game, and I wasn't feeling like overly nervous. I was just so excited. Yeah. But then after like Bell's speech and you were slapping up the boys ready to go, I was like, fuck, this is so nerve-wracking. Yeah. Ran out, looked down to my family and friends were, and I was like, fuck yeah, this is so cool. Yeah. And then, played the game, and then like after just ran over and just jumped into the crowd, and had like a special moment with my dad and mum and brother, and just spent that moment with all of them. It was just so cool. Like, just so glad that I got to have that moment for them. Like, yeah, absolutely. I really wanted to get there for those guys because they never gave up on me at all, and they were there through thick and thin, and they got me to where I was, and I was just very grateful that I got to do it there for them, and all the boys, like even the Bells, everyone just made it so special for me, and it's just so extremely grateful for how they handled it all. Got my family in, gave me all those tickets, and just made it super special. Like it was a dream come true.
From the game? Like was there?
Plenty. I remember off my first run, I think it was off a scrum. And I got it, and Cody Walker was like, "You're not getting around me, boy." And he tackled me, and then what else happened? I think
you're like, "Damn, that's Cody Walker." Out.
I remember, I think I was on the line, and I had to get into the D line, And Big George, I think it was Big George Burgess just come steaming at me. I had to just get in front of him. There was like a moment where I could have my first try assist. I got the ball on the right side, threw a long ball to Sully.
Yeah.
Sully like jumped, put it down, scored, and I was like, yes, this is the time. And then went to this video ref and he just stood out.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
fuck.
But yeah, like it was mad. And then Crofty scoring at the very end just to put us in the lead.
Yep.
Or not put us in there, put us in the lead where they just definitely couldn't catch us.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just so good. And then just after the game, getting the hug off the boys, it was mad.
Okay, so that year, you play 11 matches, mainly as utility off the bench.
I played 11 matches the year after.
Oh, the year after.
So I debuted, played one, and then the year after I played.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yep.
So 2020,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yep. So 2020, you obviously you just win the premiership, but and you, from my perspective, you played in the grand final. You're a premiership winner.
Yeah.
How's it feel for you personally? Is it a very strange feeling to think like you didn't get on the field, but obviously you were a huge part of getting to the grand final and you were in the 17.
Yeah,
is it weird?
It's so weird, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of hard to explain to people because, it's a lot of, like 90% of the people going, no, like you deserve that. Like
100%.
you were in the team, you deserve that.
Yep.
Like, but it's kind of hard to explain. Like it just doesn't feel like I won that day.
Yeah.
Like, it's just because at the time when the siren went, like I was up and ready to get on, up and down. And the siren went, and all the boys, like I went and cheered and that, but like, it just felt like there was something in me that was just felt a bit weird.
Yeah.
But then like I look at all the boys who were celebrating who weren't in the 17.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, every single one of those would have killed to be where I in that position.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I put the ring on, like I was like, fuck, I got a premiership ring, man. That's unbelievable. 100%. Like I may not ever get this again. And then, I'm lucky that I'm in this 17, this group of boys who just won a grand final, and it was hard. Like it was very bittersweet. But at the end of the day, like I'm a premiership player for that team. And
absolutely.
I'll be on the walls there forever as a premiership player, and no one can ever take away the ring from me. I played 11 games in a row leading into that grand final. So yeah, it is what it is. If I could go back and play in the game, I can definitely, but now it's just even made me hungrier for more and to be a main player in the grand final, so it's so hard to explain those emotions of being a grand final winner but not actually getting on the field. Like it's hard, man.
It's like in reality, what is the difference? Like if you ran on there for a minute and made 2 tackles, does that really make you more of a premiership winner? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
And where is that line between how many tackles and how many minutes do you have to be on the field before you feel like, okay, I'm a premiership winner? Is it, do you have to be on the field for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes?
Yeah, exactly right. That's a great question, to be honest.
But that's, I think it leans in your favour of like, it's an arbitrary number. It doesn't matter. You're in the 17. You're named in that 17. Your role that day was to not get on the field. That was your role in the team. To not, because like it shouldn't have been, but it was to the death. I see you absolutely as a premiership winner. A little bit different to like 18th man, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I can understand why an 18th man would feel, I'm not like, okay, yes, I was in the squad, but I think if you're named in the 17, regardless whether you play or you don't play, that not playing is a role.
Yeah,
it's a role. But I also understand the competitor in you, the high standards in you was like, I wanted to get on and play in the grand final and make a difference kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember seeing a stat fucking halfway through this year. Some guy on Twitter goes, Nicho Hynes is he's won an Origin Series and a grand final without playing a single minute. And I was just like, man,
that's fucked.
Yeah, I didn't win an Origin Series. I was just 18th man for that third game. Like I don't count that me winning an Origin Series. There's no way in the world. But yeah, like winning the grand final, like I go through stages, man, where I'm just like, yes, I've won one. Or no, I haven't. Yes, I have. But
I think you absolutely did. You're in the 17.
Yeah.
Like it's not. You're in the 17. Like Bellyache probably could have just put you on for 30 seconds. Would that have changed how you felt?
Probably not.
Exactly. But technically, you ran on the field.
Exactly right. Yeah.
I agree with the Origin. If you're 18th man, like you're part of the squad, but it's not the same. No. It's not really the same.
No, not at all.
So you win the grand final. Like what leading into that, you've only, like at that point, you'd only played like 11 games or 12 games. Were you sitting there going, like, what was the build-up like for the grand final? Were you nervous? Were you excited?
Yeah, it was...
You've gone from like a 16 months ago, Q Cup.
Yeah.
No NRL club is interested. I mean, you go back even further, like 18 months, you're doubting whether you'll even play rugby league.
Exactly right.
To a grand final.
I know, it was a whirlwind, man. Like, even like beginning of the year, I wasn't in the first grade team, and then COVID happened, and like I wasn't even sure if I was going to play footy again. And then Belzer chucked me on the bench one game, and then gave me a crack at fullback. And then I played really well, and then I think he realised maybe I could be utilised as a utility on the bench, and then he never kept me out of the team. But like, yeah, at the back end of the year, when we went on a run, and I was becoming an important part of that team with me being a utility and filling in at fullback when I had to for those few times. I was like, far out. Like, I started to think, man, I could possibly win a grand final. This team just coming off the bench, like how good is that? And then we went and won the semi-final into the prelim, and the boys are like, all my mates I was a bit closer with the boys who aren't playing first grade, and they're like, fuck, Nicho, you could win a grand final here. Like, you could win a ring. How good's that? Like, and they were starting to get into me, like, man, no matter how, like, if you play 5 minutes, you don't get on, like, you'd better celebrate like you've won.
100%.
And it got to the grand final week, and I was like, I just still didn't know, because Tui was coming back from injury, and he was killing it when he was playing, and he deserved his spot big time as well. So we had the training week, had the fan days and that, and I was named in the 17, but I still didn't know if I was playing. Yeah, so he hadn't told me he was playing yet. It was on the bench. So I didn't get told until captain's run.
No way.
I was in the 17.
Yeah.
So I was just preparing like I was playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the grand final week, like, it was just so surreal, and it was different. Like, all the boys explained it differently, because we were in COVID times. We're up in Queensland. We didn't really get the Melbourne fans there. We didn't have all the media like Penrith would have, because they were in Sydney. But I loved it all. Like, I loved, like, all the other older boys were like, fuck, we're doing this again. All the media sessions again. But for me, I was just frothing, just being 100%. Around, being in the 17 grand final week. Like, this is everything I've dreamt of.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was mad. And then flying down to Sydney, and then, like, on the day, just seeing, like, looking out the hotel, and you're just seeing, like, all the fans walking around the street to going to the game. And when we come down, all the Storm supporters clapped us out of our hotel. Like, it was just so mad. And yeah, like, fuck, at the end of the day, I've got a premiership ring, so it still counts. And,
absolutely. I think it does. Absolutely it does. And so this year, you get called into game 3 of the extended Blues side. Do you remember the phone call? Were you spinning out? What was that like?
Yeah, I remember. So we played, I think, Thursday night against Friday night, I don't know, against the Knights. Not against the Knights, the Roosters at Newcastle Stadium. And then we went back to Melbourne, and we were having 9 days off, because we had to buy that week coming. And I was like, because I had some niggling injuries, man. Like, I was rattled at the time. I was like, fuck yeah, I get like 9 days off here.
Gonna feel $1 million when I come back.
But we were on like the level 4 protocol, so we couldn't even leave our house in Melbourne. But I was like, fuck yeah, I'll just have a mad week off, cruise. And I think it was Sunday night. And I think me and Boothie lived together, and another lad and his missus. I think we had some beers that Saturday night. I think we were just like, we're locked in. We're like, fuck it, let's just have a games night. Yeah. And then, so I spoke to Fitzy that night just about shark stuff. Yeah. And then I was watching a movie, Sunday Arvo, and I had a missed call from Fitzy, and he's like, call me ASAP. And I was like, fuck, what did I say? Me and him spoke about shark stuff.
Did I wig out and do something wrong? And
I was thinking he might have thought that I was, I might have went and said something to someone about what we're talking about the Sharks, shark stuff. And I'm going, oh no, what have I done? And then I rang him, and he goes, hey, Nicho, what are you up to? And what are you up to this week? Like, and I was like, oh, nothing, because we're stuck in fucking level 4 protocols here. So I'm literally sitting in my house doing nothing. Yeah. And he goes, oh, how would you like to come be in the extended squad for the New South Wales team? And I went, fuck off, no way. And then he goes, mate, Freddie wants you, and he's got me to call you. You're in. And I was like, bullshit. And he goes, mate, I'm serious. And I said, let's go. Like, that's so hectic. And it was just like so surreal, and I just didn't believe it. And I was just like, there's no way, man. Like, there's no way I'm about to go into a New South Wales squad.
Did you get a jersey?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Well, originally I was named at 19th man. Yeah. And then I think Dennis Fetty got injured, and then Dale was 18th, so he got put into the front row, and then I got 18th.
18th.
And I wasn't, because like 18th, you wear the blue thing and you're like on the bench the whole time, and
you
you're
warm up in that.
Yeah, you're in if someone gets injured, like, or someone gets HIA or whatever, like, and it's illegal.
When you're warming up in an Origin game, what are you thinking? Like, I'm warming up for an Origin. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, man. Like, I remember, because I'm always used to running out to warm up with the Storm crew and like seeing the crowd and that. And I remember just all of us, all blue jerseys, running out to warm up and looking in the crowd and just seeing the Blues fans going nuts and the Queensland blue on us. Like, I was just like, fuck, this is
Origin game.
Yeah,
like, you watch this shit going up. Like, this is you're in it.
Yeah.
Fucking
like,
wild.
if someone, like, Magic Round, say, remember when someone like head high, someone got sent off, like Paps did, our 18th man come onto the to the bench. Like, that could happen to me potentially, and I'm going, fuck, I've got to be ready. Because I remember, like, our very first field session, Freddie goes, Nicho, you're 18th man now, so I need you to cover this position, because if something happens, you're our man next. And I went, holy shit. So if something happens to one of those boys, I'm next in line. Like, fucking oath, that's mad. And just seeing the boys prepare all week, you know, the respect they get when they talk, all of them, you know, just little bits. Like, even Cam Murray, like, he was so professional in everything he done during the week. You know, Teddy, the way he goes about his things, like, it was just so unbelievable. And I just learned a hell of a lot. And, you know, it's just kind of made me feel like, fuck, I want to be in that squad every year from now. And I want to work my ass off to try and be in that squad every year. And even like in that warm up, and then Teddy told me to put bombs up for him. And it was just mad. Like, it was so cool.
Imagine telling your kids in 20 years, oh yeah, I was putting bombs up for Teddy. You know, Teddy's on the path to become the greatest fullback of all time. If not the greatest, second or third max, in my opinion. And you're bombing for him to warm up in an Origin game.
I know.
In the greatest ever margin win from a New South Wales side. Fucking
it was
wild,
cool.
bro.
And then, like, even after, like, I got photos with the shield with the boys. I didn't know whether I should have or not, but they told me to come into it. Just being around the shield and just being around all the boys, like, it was just something that you just like, fuck, I want to do this more and more and more now. And once you get a little taste, man, you just want it. Just want it so bad.
What was the intensity like on the ground? Like, comparing to another NRL game, was it like crazy intensity when it comes to the physicality of it all? Or?
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, it's like the presence. You can just feel it. Like, you just feel that. Me just sitting there on the bench, like, you can just feel the intensity just floating through the stadium. Like, the crowd just on edge, and like, just every collision was just so much bigger. And even just during the week, like, everyone does the same training. Like, everyone, it's pretty simple what you do, but like, it's just to that level of just intensity, you know. And I just was like, going to training, didn't want to fuck up at all. Just wanted to make sure my passes were on point and everything I was doing was on point. But and you know, I just soaked it all in, enjoyed it, and just really loved training with that intensity.
Who was someone that you really looked at and was like, wow, he really brings another level?
Good question. I think Teddy, I didn't he like did a lot of talking, and he kind of took some of the drills and that. And I, you know, like, no disrespect, I just didn't expect that of him. Like, I didn't know what sort of leader he was.
Well, he's quite private, Teddy. Like, Teddy and a lot of the Rooster boys they're very like insulated. Similar-ish sometimes to some of the Storm boys. Obviously, you've got some louder characters and that. But yeah, Teddy, you don't really know him that well, which is a good thing, because he's a private person, it seems. But yeah, I'm the same. I didn't see Teddy as a guy that... I saw him as more of a leader via action than
so
talk.
But me too.
You know, clearly he's grown into a leader.
I think Isaiah Yeo, he was really good. He just like really controlled the middle third, and he was very vocal about it too. I don't think there was a whole heap of vocal people there. They were just all led by their actions. Like, they all spoke in their little groups and when we were training and that. But Teddy did lead most of it. Like Cameron Murray, like we were talking off air before, like, I really respect him about his game more now after seeing what he does behind closed doors, you know, with all his prehab stuff. And then the way he turns up for the game and just absolutely kills it every single week. But yeah, like, they were all very, very professional. And, you know, it's just, for me, coming into NRL recently and then going into Origin, like, it made me realise what it takes to be so professional, to be in that squad. Like, I need to do that every single week in, week out. You
Yeah.
know, I don't need to just come into Origin and be professional. I need to do it every single week to get back there.
Absolutely. Okay. In your head, what is the plan with the Sharks? You know, you're a key signing in a key position. It seems like you'll play 6, but obviously, you know, things change in pre-seasons or whatever. In your head, what's the direction?
Yeah, well, it's kind of the first time, you know, or it is the first time I'm going to a club as a main signing. So I think I need to go there with an attitude that I am going to be a leader and I am going to be a main signing. So I need to restore the faith in that what they're putting in me. So I need to go there and work extremely hard to make sure that they know that they haven't made the wrong decision by signing me. And I think that's what you got to do with going there as a main signing. So, and they've brought me there to win games of footy, to be honest, and that's what it is. So I'll be working my absolute arse off to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward so that club is in the right step to win football games.
Yeah.
And they got a really, really good roster there, and it showed the way they played it towards the back end of the year. Like they were flying. They just missed out on semis, and you know they're going to bring Ken McGuinness, who's a captain of the Dragons, Dale Finucane's a captain of the Storm, like 2 great leaders into a team that's got great young players. Like that's just, I reckon that's speaking fucking leadership and hopefully success. And for me, I'm just going to learn off Wade Graham, Ken McGuinness, and Dale. Continue to learn off Dale and try to be a leader myself. And I just think that the way I play footy is going to suit them, and the way they play footy is going to suit me. So I just want to go there and just win games of footy, play consistent footy, and then hopefully success comes off the back of that. And I just want to try and make Fitzy's first year as coach very successful because he's put a lot of faith into me. Yeah. And I think it would be very rude of me to go there and just get the paycheck and just play for the paycheck when I don't want to do that. I want to be a household name, and I really want to play good footy and try and bring success to that Cronulla Sharks club. Absolutely. I cannot wait. Now ask all the boys this, favourite rapper of all time. Favourite rapper? Yeah. Oh, probably Eminem. Yeah, he's a gun. Yeah. Everyone says Eminem. Everyone says Eminem. Favourite movie of all time? Favourite movie of all time? I reckon Shawshank Redemption. That's a classic. Yeah. Classic. Or Law-Abiding Citizen. I love that. That's fucking great too. Yeah, it's a great movie. Jamie Foxx is so talented. Yeah, big time. So talented. He's a comedian, singer, actor. Yeah. He's a gun. Mate, what a journey. Thank you so much for coming on, bro. I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to watch the Sharkies next year. I think you'll go really good, and I'm thinking potential top 6 in 2 years. That's what I'm hoping. Not what I'm hoping, that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, mate, cannot wait to watch it. Thanks for coming on. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Boom.